Good morning, McKay from IT here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to set up a brand new workstation to work on the 515 side. Now the couple steps that I'm going to go over first are only applicable if you're setting up a 515, a 511, or a A3 server, or sorry, computer. And the reason for that is that we have these three different domains on the same physical network. So this domain and this domain and this domain are all on the same switches, the same network backbone. So we need to separate them using different DNS search domains, um, so that you're not pulling up 511 patients when you're trying to pull up 515 patients. So in order to do that, there's three different steps we need to do. We need to change our DNS listing. We need to manually enter a server in our hosts file, and we need to enter a environment variable. So first things first is to set up our manual DNS setting. And to do that, I'm going to go Start and Control Panel, then Network and Internet, Network and Sharing Center, then Adapter Settings. Now, usually by default, it'll think it's on the lethbridgedental.local domain, which is good for us, but we're going to force it to stay here so it doesn't accidentally switch to the others. Okay, so I may have glossed over that. So right click on this, go Properties, go Internet Protocol version 4, Properties again, and then down here for DNS, have it get its DNS manually, and we're going to set 192.168.1.2. That is the DNS server for the 515 side. We're going to hit OK. Then we're going to close out of these things. That's step one. Step two, we're going to enter in a manual DNS listing in our system's host file. And to do that, we're going to go to Local Disk, Windows, System 32, there it is, then Drivers, there it is, then etc. And here we are. And the full directory you can see right there. So you can just type that in directly into Windows Explorer, and that'll take you to the same spot. We're going to open up the hosts file using a text editor, not a Word layout application. So don't open this in Word, open it in Notepad. Cool. So this is the hosts file. Anything marked with a hash symbol or a pound sign is commented out. So we're going to create a new line, and we're going to enter 192.168.1.2, tab, then SRV 01, period, lethbridgedental.local. So this means that if we lose connection to our DNS server for whatever reason, it will manually know this entry. It's good. We're going to go ahead and save and close. So now that hosts file has that entered. Good. Okay, now the third thing is we need to modify our environments variable. And to do that, you go Start, right click on Computer, go Properties, go Advanced System Settings, then Environment Variables. In System Variables, we're going to hit New. We're going to type in ls force host, and here we're going to type in srv01, and hit OK, and OK, and good. Now this computer is permanently bound to the 515 domain and will not sort of stray across and mess with the other two domains. So the last thing to do to get this machine bound to the correct domain is to actually bind it. So let's just start from ground zero for that step. We're going to go Start menu, right click on Computer, Properties, then we're here where it says Computer Name, Domain, and Workgroup Settings. Right now it's set as on a workgroup. We're going to bind it to the domain by going Change Settings. We're going to change here as well. Give the computer an appropriate name. I'm going to call it 515, I don't know, something like that perhaps. For the domain, enter lethbridgedental.local. It's going to take a second or two to reach out to that. There we go. So now it's found it. And here, enter an administrative name. So we're going to be handing out the administrator name and password through a different channel. So refer to that password. Type it in. And the computer is going to authenticate with the domain, and now it's bound. So now any username on the server you can use to sign into this computer, and it's going to ask to restart. So I'll see you once the computer is rebooted.
Okay, the computer has come back up, and we're going to go ahead and sign in. So I've already done that once, as you can see here. For the first time you do this, this user here is going to be the local user that you set up in the very first place, and we're not going to try and sign into the local user. We're going to sign into a network user that has administrative rights. So to do that, click on Other User. If it doesn't say log into lethbridgedent, if it says log into 515-OPP03 or 51 or whatever the host name of your computer is, be sure to prefix your login with the domain name. So in this case, it would be lethbridgedental.local / and then the username. In this case, we're going to use the administrator username, and then just use the administrator password that you were given, and then hit this button here to go ahead and log in. And it's going to grab the authorization credentials from the network, and now we're in.
Now the computer is rebooted, and I have logged on using the administrator network password, or username and password. Now, one thing you want to watch out for, or just double check, is make sure that the administrator account has administrator access to this computer. And sometimes it doesn't take automatically, so we're going to go Start and Control Panel and User Accounts, and then give other users access to this computer to verify that our admin account has the proper credentials. So we can see that the user account, which is the built-in non-network user, has administrative rights. And we're going to go ahead and add the network user called administrator and check names. Boom. We're going to hit OK, and then we're going to hit next, give it administrative rights, and hit finish. There we go. So now the administrator account on the domain has admin rights. So let's go ahead and log off and log back on to change those rights. Okay, so now that we've successfully logged out and logged back in, we should have administrative privileges. So now that we have those, we're going to go and install our corporate antivirus, and that is located on the domain controller, which is srv01.lethbridgedental.local, and it's inside of its offscan shared directory. So I'm signed in as administrator, so I got all these folders accessible to me. I'm going to double tap that. I'm going to scroll down a little bit to the auto PCP installer. Just give that a double tap and select run. And then this part's going to take a little bit longer than you think it should, so don't freak out. You can open up, there we go. Didn't take quite as long as it usually does. If you're concerned if something is working when you're doing a network install, you can crack open the Windows Task Manager and just watch the networking tab, and if stuff is transferring back and forth, but you're not seeing anything, usually that means it's currently downloading the installer from the server. Okay. So for this step, you just pretty much watch it do its thing a bunch of times, and you hit next, next, next until it is done, and then you got to reboot the machine. So I'm just going to fast forward this part for you. Okay, it looks like it is installed. We can see that it's installed down here in the lower right hand corner. We can open it up. In a minute or two. If you need to make any changes to the application, you're going to hit this little unlock icon here, and you're going to have to type in the network admin password, which you'll be given in another channel. So just go ahead and refer to that. And now with that password typed in, you can mess with these settings. Usually we don't have any of these things turned on. It'll automatically update itself. It'll detect if anything comes into the system, and it even automatically quarantines applications that it thinks are bad. So it usually does a pretty good job. So we're going to go ahead and minimize that. Now it's sort of been pushed up here in this little hidden area. Okay, so now the next step is to go and get some smaller utilities. One of the first ones is called Auto Shutoff, and it is a free utility that tells our computers to shut off at an exact time of day, every day. So we can have all the computers in the office turn off at, say, 6 p.m. So this is the first time I've opened Internet Explorer, so it's going to show me all sorts of junk. So let's open a new tab here, and we can delete these two. And let's go and Google for Aeritech. Oh, there it is as a search term. There we go. Aeritech switch off. This is the utility that we like to use. Let's make this maximized. Then we're going to go, oh, here it is, latest version, download. And full version. As you can see, it's super tiny. And we're going to go ahead and run this application. At this point we can minimize the browser and follow the installation steps. And once it's installed, we're still going to have to configure it. Okay, so there we go. Now it's installed. And it's hiding this little space here. We're going to go ahead and set the schedule to daily. Now, depending on what office you're in, this is going to change. For 5:15, usually it's closed by about 4:30. So I like to set this thing to close at 6. That way, if anyone is staying a little late, the computer's not going to shut down on them. The action's going to be shut down, force applications to close. You can warn the user, so if they are staying late, they still have the option to shut it off. I'm going to run it whether the user's logged on or not. That way, if a computer got turned on, someone logged out, but it's still on, it'll still power the machine down. I'm going to go ahead and enable that task. That little green play button there signifies that it is enabled. Okay, now the next step is for us to go get a PDF reader. And, simple enough, we just use good old Adobe Acrobat Reader. So if you just navigate to adobe.com, Adobe is pretty much the default PDF viewer for the world, so that's what we like to use. Okay, so we're going to go to Menu. We're going to go to Acrobat Reader DC. DC is their most current version. And then it's going to ask us to install some stuff. Now, you know what? Actually, we want to install a couple alternative browsers. We like to install Chrome and Firefox, and on occasion Opera, just so that whoever's using the computer has their choice. So we're going to let it do this and save us a step. Normally I would turn that off. I'm going to go ahead and run this. So now it is downloading. Good. Cool. So now it's killing both those two birds with one stone, and we're going to fast forward through this to the completed stage. Okay, so now we've got Acrobat Reader and we've got Chrome installed. I'm going to go ahead and finish that. Yeah, we don't need to worry about this. But while we're here, let's go ahead and download ourselves a copy of Firefox just so that no one is left out. That should download a little utility. There it is. We're going to run that. We're going to install Firefox as well. Okay, now that that is installed, we haven't done anything with Internet Explorer, so we're just going to skip that step. Cool. So now we've got all three of these browsers good and ready to go. Okay. I guess I didn't need to add that there. We'll just move these guys on the left-hand side, so I like to have them sort of all clustered there. Okay, now the next step is for us to get an application called iFranView. Now it is a free application that views images, and it has a lot more features than the built-in Windows image viewer. Primarily, it has a feature where it will let you view multiple pages of JPEGs, even if they were saved as separate JPEGs. And this was a problem back when we were first using scanners in the office, where we would scan, say, several pages as a single document in a JPEG file, and the Windows viewer just couldn't deal with it. It would only show the first page. So we need this iFran viewer to work around that, and it will view multiple pages of a JPEG. So this is the application here. I'm going to click on download, and I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll probably download it from here and there, and then I will walk you through the installation, because this one will ask a couple questions that will trip you up. There we go. Let's go ahead and launch that, and we're going to run. Okay, so for this one, go ahead and check for all users. That way, when you sign out as, say, user number 1 and sign in as user number 2 or user number 3, it'll still be signed in. I'm going to go ahead and hit next. Yeah, next. Now for this part, just hit images only. There is enough images for it to associate itself with. We're going to hit next. And that is totally fine. And we're done. And then this is the iFranView main viewer page here. We're going to go ahead and dismiss that. We don't need to worry about that anymore now that it's installed. Okay, next on the list is LogMeIn. LogMeIn is our remote access tool of choice, and it is really nice when we need to remote access something when we're not in the building. Otherwise, if we're in the building, we would just use RDP. So, to go ahead and get a new link from LogMeIn on this computer, just go ahead and go to logmein.com, and then you're going to log in using the credentials that you were provided. I'm going to use mine. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and click Add Computer. So that's what we're doing. We're adding a computer to our family. We're going to add the computer I'm currently sitting at. It's going to download a little utility. And we're going to launch that utility and run it. Now, at a few moments during this installation, the screen will flicker because it is installing a little graphics driver. So don't worry about that. This description can be different than the computer's host name, but it's the host name by default, so that's usually fine. Don't let the computer go to sleep, that's fine. And pretty much all the defaults are fine. And I'll see you when it's all complete. Okay, looks like it completed successfully. I'm going to go down here to finish, and we can see the LogMeIn utility down here. Now, one thing that we need to do to sort of organize this computer we just added, we're going to go back to computers. Oh, Alright, I guess it's going to launch for the first time. We can dismiss that. And we can dismiss the control panel too. That just is what will launch if you click down here. So we need to put the computer in a appropriate location. You can see we have different locations here. And we're going to go to default group, which is where computers are added by default. There's a computer we just added. Click on the little wrench on the far right hand side. And then you move it to a group where it belongs and hit save. And now you can see wherever it got moved to. There it is. It's in the right collection. Let me go ahead and log out. And that's how you bind a computer to log me in. Next step, we are going to install a network printer. Now, you can do this one of two ways. You can go get the software for the printer from the website or wherever, from the CD, install the software in the computer, and then tell the software to point to a particular printer. We're going to go about it the other way. We're going to start by telling the computer to find a printer and then install the driver associated with that printer. So to do that, go to Devices and Printers, go Add a Printer. It's going to be a network printer. And I'm going to install a printer that's down here in the basement. Now, I don't believe I see it, but I do know its IP address. So I'm going to say that it wasn't listed. I'm going to say find it using its IP address. And I know that its IP address is 192.168.3.151. And the computer should reach out, find that printer, get the appropriate drivers, and install it all on its own. And I'll be back once it's done that. Okay, so it looks like it found the printer, and to get the network address of the printer, you can just walk up to it, and there's usually a network button on there, and it'll tell you its IP address. You can give it a custom name if you want. This name is fine for me. It's going to ask if you want to share the printer. Sharing is redundant because it's a network device, so say don't. And then set it as a default printer and say finish. And now I have that network printer installed as a default. Okay, the next step is going to be to install scanner drivers. Now if you have either a Kodak or a ScanSnap scanner, go ahead and look at the device that you're going to be installing and go and grab the appropriate drivers for that device. Now for your convenience, most of those are installed on the domain controller, in the E drive, in the IT department folder, and then we have a folder called scanner drivers. And then this one is the ScanSnap driver. Here is a couple different Kodak drivers. So just open them up, launch the utility, and then install them. Now these ones aren't going to finish installing if I don't have a device plugged into the computer, which I don't. So you have to just trust me that works. The only difference between these two major classes of scanners, is that the Kodak is a Twain scanner. So inside of AbleDent, it will be integrated as a scanning choice, whereas the ScanSnap is not a Twain scanner, so you need to scan first with ScanSnap and then import into AbleDent. But that's where the scanning file, or the install files are. So next step is to install AbleDent. And AbleDent is held on the server in the... Oh, that's right. AbleDent is held on a different server. AbleDent is held on server 4, dedicated for just the AbleDent directories. There we go. And you tap on the AbleDent directory. Then you tap on bin. I'm going to scroll down to Setup A. Give that a double tap. Click Run. Okay, so English is preferred. That's normal. You can really type in any name here. I'll just type in my own name. We're going to install it to our C directory. It is a client. Fictional data you don't really need. That's just like if you want to play with the application, you can use fake accounts. Okay, we live in Alberta. Be sure to change that, otherwise it'll change the way the application is laid out. And then the server name is SRV04, and the SQL server name was also SRV04. And I'll see you when this is all complete. Okay, it looks like that's done. Okay, let's go ahead and install Dexys. So to do that, we're going to go back to our Explorer, and Dexys is installed on server 1. So we're going to go //srv01. There we go. And we need to go to, where is it? I actually think it's inside of E. Then it's inside of Henry Schein drivers. Yep, and then Dexys 905. So we will be installing Dexys version 9. And you go to Dex menu, give that a double tap. Okay, so here, be sure to touch International, because the tooth counting will be done the way that we Canadians do it. Don't touch US. So International. Install Dexys software, yep. It's going to launch a little thing here. Okay, now we're going to hit next. And there's one point we're going to need to type in a directory. So that's where we want to install the software to. That's fine. We are Canadians. Don't let it be United Kingdom. Now the destination folder, this is where you have to change, because this is where it's going to save x-rays to. We don't want to save x-rays to your local computer. We want to save them to the network. So we're going to go browse. I'm going to go find the network tab. There we go. Now the first time you click this, it's going to think for a minute or two, so just be patient. It's doing a network scan right now, so it's going to take a while. There we go. So now we're going to go down to our server 1. There we go. Then we're going to tap on the E drive, or tap on Dexys and data, and that is as far as you want to go. Hit OK. So we're going to be saving to server 1, E drive Dexys data, which is good. And now we wait for the install to do its thing, and I'll see you on the other side. Alright, guess we gotta click next. Okay, so we're gonna do that later. Okay, it looks like it's all done. And then we're gonna cancel out of this little thing. Okay, now what's last to do is to go get the integration application and bind it to AbleDent. And to do that, we go to server 4 once again, so //srv04. Then we're going to go to the AbleDent directory, and in here there's going to be a little icon. Here it is, CL Dexys. Go ahead and copy this, then go to your computer, local disk, AbleDent, and paste it in here. There we go. This little utility is going to be the bridging application between AbleDent and Dexys. So to get that working, let's go ahead and launch AbleDent by opening this folder and launching this little utility. We'll just put it in our thing down here for now. Go ahead and launch that. So now it's going to be connecting to the server 4 database. There we go. Sign in as a user. we go. It looks like it works. So let's go open up my account. And now we see that the bridging integration button is not present. So we're going to go to Imaging. Then we're going to right click in this open space. Then select Setup Integration. We're going to select Capture Link Imagine IT and Enable. And then we're going to have to find that little CL Dexis guy. So we're going to go AbleDent. And there it is. And open. Cool. And now to verify that worked, we're going to close AbleDent and relaunch it. And we'll just go back to my account. There we go. So we're going to click this integration button. The first time it launches, it's going to give us some questions. So on this screen, type 1, hit OK. And then for the rest of these, just keep typing or keep hitting OK, and you're good. Dex is going to launch, and it's going to give us a warning as well. We can dismiss that. Yep. And we're done. You can see all my beautiful x-rays here. And to get back to AbleDent, we can just close Dexis. There we go. So now we have AbleDent, Dexis, and all the rest of our little utilities installed. Now if this application or this computer is going to be installed in a desk jockey situation where someone is going to be using it at a desk the majority of the time, we can go ahead and install Office 2016 for them.